Welcome to the Growth with AI podcast, hosted by Integrated AI Services. I'm Peter Martinson, and today's episode explores how AI is reshaping the world of branding, marketing, and client growth. Our guest is Bryon McCartney, co-founder and chief creative strategist at Arcmark, an agency that's helped hundreds of architecture and design firms stand out through smarter positioning, powerful storytelling, and AI-driven marketing systems. Bryon, it's great to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be here, Peter. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So tell me your story. How did you get started doing, what you're doing now, and especially in the architecture niche?
Yeah, so I started way back when as a graphic designer and worked in advertising, then in corporate, then went back worked for a small agency that was in Chicago. Eventually, I ended up at Unilever, where I was on a team where we were responsible for getting a lot of the major Unilever brands, like doing experimentations with their brands online. This is back in the late 90s. From there, I ended up moving to Switzerland, where I was the COO and creative director for an agency there. Did that for a few years and then went out on my own while I was still in Switzerland, started my own business. And then my wife ended up joining me a few years later, and we founded our first agency. That was still while we were over there. And then moved back in 2012. Thought we would get all kinds of business by just hanging up our shingle and saying, "Oh, we have all this agent." My wife had run an agency as well, so we had all this agency experience, and worked with all these major brands, and we're trying to get local businesses to hire us. And what we realized is that even though we had all this great experience, it wasn't really relevant to local marketing. And well, some of it was, but it was a lot of people were thinking, "Wow, you guys sound really expensive," and and so we worked with a business coach. His name's Brent Weaver. He had a company called You Gurus, and You Gurus was a coaching and mentoring program for agency owners. And when one of the first challenges that Brent gave us was, you guys got to get known for something. You got to pick a niche. And we went back and forth. There was a few different things that we were trying. We were based in Florida at the time, and we were trying to figure out what what's going to be a good niche for us. Well, uh, as I don't know, as fate would have it, we were in a co-working space, and a few doors down from us there was an architect, and around this time, he just happened to stop by one day, and he said, "Hey, I don't have a website, and I need to refresh my logo." Like, I kind of looked at my wife, and I was like, "This is weird." So we worked with him, and we realized in working with him a couple of things. Number one, we realized, looking back on our time in Chicago, we met in Chicago. Looking back on our time in Europe, we were kind of weird where when we would travel, we would be like, "Hey, what are the cool buildings in this city?" Or, what's the cool architecture here? And we would actually go and visit like different architectural sites and buildings that we found interesting. I'm a designer. It's kind of, ingrained in my blood. I gravitate towards cool design. And so we traveled a lot around Europe. We got to have some great experiences actually in these places sometimes. We went to Prague. We had dinner in what's known as the Fred and Ginger building. We went to the Tate in London. We went to the mountains in Switzerland, and went to a thermal bath which was designed by a famous architect. And we were kind of oblivious to all this at the time. We were just like, "Oh, cool design, cool architecture. Let's go check it out." But when we started working with this architect and we had a really great experience with him, something clicked and we realized, "Oh my God, we're archi geeks." And so, like I said, we had a really great time working with this client. And so we had a discussion with Brett, and he was like, "Wow, this could be a really cool niche for you guys. And we started investigating, like, are there other marketing agencies that are focused on architects? What's going on? We did some things and then we reached out to a local chapter of the American Institute of Architects. And it turned out that it wasn't the local chapter didn't run the chapter, it was run by the state. So that every state has their state level chapter. And
Mm.
sometimes the state directors, like if you call the local chapter, the state director answers and they go, "Oh, hey, this is Becky from Sarasota AIA." And so it's like it's kind of a service they provide to some of the smaller chapters. And we called this one chapter and we're talking to this woman and we discover that, oh no, she's working at the state level. And so we just asked her, we said, "Do you have any chapters that could really use some help?" And she immediately goes, "Yes." And it was Fort Lauderdale, which was, we were in Southwest Florida. So this is like a 2-hour drive. And no, we kind of said, yeah, anything within a 2-hour radius, medium, Fort Lauderdale. I'm like, okay, you picked the furthest away. But we went over, we went to an event that they were hosting. We met with the president of the chapter, who was a great guy, ended up becoming a client of ours. We basically we worked out a barter deal where they gave us a free membership and we gave them some advice and consulting on how to grow their membership. So it was a win-win. And with that, we got introduced to a lot of architects, many of whom became clients. And that was really the start of it, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that was really how we found that niche. It was kind of like a happy accidental, fate driven destiny thing, but it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. My dad was an architect before he retired, and
Yeah.
we traveled around and in Europe and he spent a lot of time going, you see that building?
Yeah.
This is the neat thing about that building from an architecture perspective. See that building? Well, I did the specifications, so I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And buildings are really cool, right? They're all over and they're
Yeah. And when we go to, sometimes we go to conferences and they have architectural tours. And
Mhm.
so it's really fun to go and join these tours and hear from, maybe some of the architects who were involved in the design of the building, why they did what they did, or, what are the features and cool things that they kind of hid in the design. It's really, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Um, well, and I've heard the phrase niche down to grow fast. So, instead of trying to be everything to everyone, you find a really small niche that nobody else is serving or serving well and just turn that into your clients. So fantastic. And to make it something that you're interested in too is great. But so you've built your reputation in your business by helping architecture firms with branding and marketing. So how do you see, AI changing the game in how you help those companies grow faster and help their clients?
So that's a great question, and it's one that we've been thinking about a lot. In fact, I believe for us, and this isn't for everybody, but for certainly for us, our trajectory. So as you know, I'm also a coach. I'm a
Hmm.
business coach. I'm a marketing and branding coach. And what I kind of realized about a year and a half ago was that, well, I love doing marketing and I love branding and design and all of that. Where my real strength is in strategic thinking. And
Hmm.
so for me, this has been something I've been thinking about for a long time, is how do I transition out of doing everything for my clients and teaching them or guiding them and taking more ownership and responsibility of what they're doing. And so as a result of that, I've been looking at how do I transition? How do I go from being an agency, which I know we've primarily been an agency now for at least in this iteration since 2000, going all the way back to 2006 when my wife and I started our first agency in Switzerland. So I've been focusing on trying to put more emphasis on my coaching, my consulting, that kind of stuff. But what I see in terms of our business, I still have a team. We're still providing services. And so my outlook right now is that we are looking at actually automating a lot of the services that we currently provide. So for
Hmm.
one, content creation. We do blogs, we do social media projects or social media management for some of our clients. And so we're working with a team and we have a team. We have been working with an outsourced like web development team for a while now. And last year and in fact, my coach, Brent, who his coaching and mentorship business ended about a year ago. Well, now he's the CEO of our partner. They actually reached out to him and hired him. They had had a close relationship previously. And so now Brent is leading this company. It's called E2M. People in the marketing space may have heard of them before. But E2M this past year launched a new AI division. So they have a team of data scientists, AI specialists on board, and we've been working with them for the past several months to automate our own content systems. So we've
Hmm.
been building systems where what we're doing is we're taking a lot of the content that I've done. So webinars, coaching calls, educational content that we've created, and we're putting that into what's known as a database. So it's a retrieval augmented, I forget what the G stands for, but anyway. So this RAG database allows us to access a large amount of data through a custom GPT. And so I can go in there and I can say, hey, like just today, I was going through there and I was like, hey, I need to know all the case studies that are in this database, right? And so I had it give me all of those. We're kind of updating our case studies and our testimonials. And so it gave me a list of all these case studies that I've talked about over the last couple of years. But we're taking that further in GPT. It's actually connected to N8N as well.
Hmm.
And so in our project management tool in ClickUp, the goal will be that I will be able to just go into ClickUp, create a new task, and I'll be able to in this project, I'll be able to create a new task and give it some information about a topic that I want to write about. And uh, that will then send a message to N8N. It'll create a blog draft for me. It'll send it back to me, have me review it, it actually sends me to the Google Docs page that I review. I add any comments and feedback into that, and those comments then go back into NAN when I tell it it's ready. Goes back into NAN, it redrafts, revises. It'll send me the updated draft. Once that it's approved, then it goes through the process of creating LinkedIn posts for that particular blog, and then also other social media posts that we can use on, let's say, Instagram or Facebook or wherever we want to post those. So that process, that system is, I would say, it's about 75% built already, and we're looking at probably getting that online in the next month or so to really kind of do some heavy testing and making sure that it's working properly. And then I would say probably conservatively, maybe by the end of the year, that should be fully functioning and ready for prime time. And then once that's built, we now then have that model which we can plug and play for all of our clients. So for me, that'll be a area where we'll be able to just save tons of time and regain a lot of time. But then we can start selling those tools to our clients and then I was talking to my team, my team's kind of like, well, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, you're going to be coaching them on this process. You're going to be holding them accountable. You're going to be helping them utilize these tools and training them and then meeting with them every 2 weeks to say, "Hey, did you get a new article done? Did you get all that approved? Did you review it?" Everything like that. And if they haven't, you're going to spend time on that call actually doing that with them. So that's how I think our particular situation is evolving,
Hmm.
we're also looking at developing apps and tools specific to the architecture industry that are, we're using AI to develop SaaS platforms. So one of the key areas and one of the key problems I see with a lot of our clients is that they do not do regular strategic planning. In our agency, we do quarterly planning, and then each person on the core team, they're assigned specific 90-day deliverables based on that planning, which are not client related. They're more about how we improve our business. And so we see the same opportunity for architects. And so we're building a SaaS platform for that purpose. So it'll be a tool where they can sign up. They're able to do their quarterly strategic planning. Then that tool will also send them reminders and hold them accountable for completing those tasks on a 90-day basis. Then they can invite their team to participate and all that too. So yeah, it's things like that that I think are kind of evolving from, we've been working with architects almost 10 years now, and we've just seen a lot of pain points for that niche. And so I think that deeper insight into the problems and challenges they have has really enabled us to say, "Oh, hey, there's these key problems that before AI, we weren't really able to address those, in a scalable way." But
Hmm.
now we're looking at, like, now we can create tools, now we can create solutions that are easily scalable, and so that kinda changes the dynamic of what we will be as an agency.
Wow, that's incredible. So your creative people are going to be working directly with the clients and the tools to be creative with the clients.
Yeah, to
They use the tools sort of
really be
properly.
coaches and guides for the clients. So, because this is the biggest problem. The bottlenecks aren't the tools. The bottlenecks aren't it's always the client. And I don't mean to, I mean, come on. Anybody listening to this as an agency owner knows this is the absolute truth, right? It's always the clients that hold things up. And so if instead we can become enablers, and instead of sitting here and reminding them, hey, where is that thing that you promised me? Where is that? Instead, we're going to get on a call and we're saying, okay, you didn't get this done. Let's do it together. Let's just get it done. And the tools enable us to free up that time to be able to do that. Right. So
Wow.
it really changes our, instead of just being doers, now we're enablers. We're coaches, we're guides. And I think that for me, that's a much more comfortable place to be in the future.
Are you concerned that if you, to steal a phrase, if you teach a man to fish, that he won't need you
Hey,
anymore, and you're
hey, that's
concerned
fine.
about?
That's fine. If they want to just pay me for the tool, that's fine. We can do that too, you know?
Gotcha.
But if they really want to get shit done, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to have, I'd love to have 1,000 architects using my $99 a month SaaS tool without our help. But I'm certainly gonna charge a premium for them to get that help and that motivation because they all
Gotcha.
need it, right?
Yeah. Um, so so how do you advise agencies and the people you're working with, what kind of metrics do you get out of the tools or to show ROI, so that you can convince people to use the tools and to continue to use them? How do you measure the
Here's probably
success?
the best metric that I can think of. In the last year, we've increased our profit 174% by freeing up our time,
Mhm.
by removing bottlenecks, by eliminating AI resistant staff that weren't on board with the changes that we wanted to make. And so for us, that has really impacted um, our mindset because we know there's a lot more available. I mean, we went from 21 to 50% profit in the last year. I'd love to get to 90. That'd be awesome, right? But uh, I think for when we're talking to clients, I'm talking in those same metrics, right? if I can save you 15 hours a week over a year, right? Or let's say it's just 10 and, there's 50 weeks and that's 500 hours, times 2,000, or 200 an hour, if we just take an average, I don't know what does that come to, like $100,000, something like that in saved revenue or saved effort and cost, right? That's a huge impact for a lot of my clients. They're willing to pay for that. So I don't think it's a hard sell, right? You just have to put the terms in very clear, transparent language. I'm going to save you 10 hours a week. Okay. What's that mean? Well, it means, 50 hours a month, 50 hours, 50 weeks a year times your hourly rate. What does that come to?
Mhm.
Most architects, most clients are going to go, yeah, that's a pretty easy bet. If you're charging me, let's say 10% of that,
Mhm.
if I'm charging them $10,000 to do that, I think most clients are going to go, yeah, I definitely want to do that.
Yeah. So that's an AI tool that you're selling to your clients. I'm curious, are there any tools that you suggest they bring into their practices outside of your SaaS tool to use with their clients and to do the work with their clients, or do you just let them figure that out?
Here's the thing, for our clients, I don't think they have time to think about that, to be honest. I mean, some do, and some are working with AI tools. So in architecture, just like in marketing, we have our tools, right? There's a million and one tools in architecture for doing renderings, building models, calculating, projections on whatever structures, and for structural engineering, there's tools for material selections, all these things, right?
Hmm.
A lot of these tools that they're already using, those tools are already trying to embed AI into those tools or add AI features that they can charge more for. When I tell my clients, like, listen, if you want me to help you figure out how to integrate AI into your modeling system, that's not me, and I don't have that expertise. However, if you want me to help you figure out how to integrate AI into your business so that you have more time for that other stuff that you really want to do, the design stuff that you really geek out about, or the production stuff that you really geek out about, or the time you get to spend with your clients because it's all about relationships. Those are the conversations I want to have. I want to have conversations on about freeing your time up from the business of architecture. And most of my clients are very receptive to those conversations. So what we're looking at in terms of that is, number one, how are they currently using AI? Like, where is it? Most of our clients are Microsoft based, so they're using a Copilot if they're using anything. Some
Hmm.
of them have ChatGPT. None of them are really using, none that I've spoken to at least, are really using tools above that grade, So I would say that those are what we call kind of experimental introductory tools. They're like getting their toes wet, like, oh, what can I do with this? Most of them, I think, are also frustrated in using those tools because they don't know how to use them in a way that's going to be efficient or effective yet. They don't understand prompting very well, and they don't know how to set those tools up. Like, we use Claude a lot. Sometimes we use GPT, ChatGPT, but, so we're creating projects, creating tools that have memory, using tools that have memory and are able to get to know us. And that's
Hmm.
that's a huge distinction and a huge time saver down the road. So in terms of them using tools, we get asked all the time, have you heard of this tool? Have you used this tool? And usually the answer is no, not really. If you want me to look into it, I can. There are some tools that we do recommend though. Like, for one, Gamma. So
Hmm.
if you're familiar with Gamma, Gamma is a fantastic, really cool tool, and use it every week. I use it probably 3 or 4 times a week. It's a huge time saver for me. Allows me to do great presentations and, slideshows, but also allows me to create downloads and social media posts. Um, a fantastic tool, and I've introduced it to several of my clients, and they love it. Another one is Notebook LM. If they do have a Google account, even a free one, I highly recommend that our clients use Notebook LM. It for those who aren't familiar, Notebook LM allows you to basically upload resources like PDFs, and you can add YouTube videos and a lot of other text content, etc. But when you use the AI is only referencing what you upload to a specific notebook. So there's no hallucinations. You get really good responses, and you can create videos. You can create like 5 to 7 minute explainer videos on a particular topic. So for example, we are working with one client. We've done a lot of blogs for them. Well, now we're looking at using Notebook LM to create videos based on those blogs. And yeah, there's some rough edges on it and it's not exactly perfect, but we're getting there with it. So hopefully we'll be able to uh get a good result for them that they really like, and be able to start integrating that on different platforms for them. So um there's one thing that you mentioned in your question that I think is also something that I want to put out to agency owners. I was just in Denver not long ago. I went to a couple of conferences in the last month or so. I was in Denver for an AI conference. I was also in at MACON here in Cleveland, Marketing AI conference here in Cleveland. And at both of those conferences, the question was asked, how many of you are using ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot or some other tool we've all heard of?
Yep.
And probably 95% of the room raised their hands. But then the question was asked, how many of you have actually integrated AI into your workflows and your systems? And not many hands went up, and I was kind of shocked. I was actually kind of stunned. So this idea of AI integration, that's only like the second or next level above AI tool use, right? Is when we're starting to actually piece together different AIs using agents, things like that. We're seeing ourselves as an AI first agency. We want to be an AI first agency where everything is built around how can we integrate, utilize, and use AI to improve what we're doing for our clients. And I think more agencies need to think in this way, or they're going to get left behind.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that that's actually a great kind of segue into the wrap up of this conversation. What do you want people who might hire you to know about you and your agency?
Yeah. So, what we tell our prospective clients, what we tell architects is that we want to help free you from your dependency on hope marketing, waiting for the phone to ring, depending on referrals. That's really our main goal. We want to help you design your business as well as you design the buildings that you create. And so that's where we are always starting from. We have a clear uh, I think for us, it's always clear to us that we want to help our clients overcome some of the limitations that have been put upon them by their professors, by their peers, by their predecessors in their firms, who really approached business development marketing from the standpoint of if you do good work, more good work will come. And that's not it's not really a strategic way to approach how to grow and develop your firm. And so that's where we're kind of coming from. And what really encouraging right now is that we're seeing a lot more architecture firms, a lot more architecture firm leaders really understand that this is kind of a critical inflection point for the industry, and that trying to look at things differently and even accept some help from outside the industry is probably a good thing. So we're really encouraged about the future.
That's fantastic. That's an awesome way to think about helping companies build. So very nice. Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure having you on the show and hearing your insights. And we'll see you somewhere else on the internet.
All right. Thanks a lot, Peter. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Take care.
All right. Thank you.